It got so bad that it was about the whole size of my head. I would have to do a huge comb over. I just hope I never, ever go back to that. And if it's so many exclamation points. I'm reading my old journal from back when I was in high school. Right now I was a freshman from where I left off. And it was January 2nd of 2016. I am pulling all of my stuff from my calendar into another journal, and first of all, it's a lot of work. To give some clarification, I do another form of journaling where I write on a calendar, and I have kept this up even longer than this journal. That form of journaling started because I had a calendar. It was up in my room right next to my bed, and I would do the normal thing where you cross off each day with an egg, and that became where I started putting little pictures, like maybe little waves, and that meant that I went swimming that day, or a little t-shirt because we made t-shirts, painted them, and I just wanted to remember that. And then that became me writing things about my day, like today in art class I did this, and then that just spiraled into me in those tiny little squares writing everything that happened my day, and that continued on. When I first started doing this, I believe it was back in 2013 or 2014, I did it with a highlighter because that's how I started Xing out my day. But if your highlighters are great, that's good because they last a really long time. My highlighters I don't think were very good because they did not last. They started fading. And at this point, it was 2016, so 2 or 3 years later, I was noticing that they were starting to fade, and I wanted to keep that documentation that I had. I started writing them down in a different journal. That way I could have it. So that's that clarification. It probably was a lot of work because that was about 3 years of information that I needed to write down by hand. I wish I started with a computer back then because everything would have been easier to document. I also barely knew how to type at this point. Maybe it wouldn't have been that great. In the corner of May of that year, it says, "I will not pull out my hair," which probably means I tried to stop, but it sounds crazy because I can't remember the last time I pulled out my hair. It's been a really long time. I guess I'm really proud of myself in a way because I finally stopped. This also needs clarification because I had a OCD disorder where I used to pull out my hair. There's a specific name to it. I am doing a PhD in psychology. I should know what this term is called, but I still have never memorized it. It starts with a T, and I just haven't had to memorize it yet. But it is a disorder where you pull out your hair and you have a compulsion to pull out your hair. It's a form of anxiety, a lot of anxiety. I had been dealing with that since I was in 3rd grade, so about 9 years old, up until my freshman year of high school. It got so bad that it was about the whole size of my head. I would have to do a huge comb over to cover it up, and it got really bad by 7th grade. I remember I was originally a swimmer, but whenever you take off your swim cap, it was starting to get to the point where people started asking me, "What is that?" And I gave up swimming, so I did cross country instead because I didn't want to have to deal with people seeing my bald spot. And the good news is cross country might have been one of the reasons why I stopped pulling out my hair. That was my freshman year. That's when I'm writing about this. I was saying that I can't remember the last time I pulled out my hair. I don't know why I stopped. I did go see a couple therapists, but nothing was really working. It really started happening my freshman year. Maybe I was a little bit more social. Maybe it was the exercise of running specifically. I don't know what it was, but it was something along those lines, maybe a combination of things, and it really helped my mental health. My anxiety was a lot better. I'm very grateful that I stopped, and that is what I'm saying here. I said I started when I was in 3rd grade, and by the time I was in 6th grade, I had a huge bald spot on the top of my head. It was so bad I had to do a major comb over. It was a bad time in my life, so I just hope I never ever go back to that. And if it's so many exclamation points. I guess I just feel like I'm in a really good time in my life, and I'm so scared it's going to get worse for some reason, but I hope that doesn't happen. That's really funny because I look back at my freshman year of high school and I think that was a low almost in my mind. I look back at pictures. I had the worst braces. My teeth were like all over the place. I used to have like vampire teeth where they were up here, and I had an expander, and my teeth were just all over the place. I still was dealing with when you stop pulling out your hair, that hair has to grow back. And it was initially very frizzy on the top of my head, and I would have to really pat it down. I'd have to use pins if I was doing my hair in a ponytail. Back in the day, the ponytail that was really cool was a really, really high up ponytail, and I couldn't quite put my hair slick back. I would have to still do the comb over and then into a ponytail and have to use those clips. And it took until about right before my junior year, I finally cut my hair about to my shoulders, and everything had grown up to that point. And everything was the same length for the first time in 8 years. But when I look back at my freshman year, I can see that frizz, I can see my braces, my acne was really bad. That's just so funny that I thought it was such a good time in my life. It's kind of crazy how our memories might think, oh, that was not a good time because this is how I looked, or this is what I was going through, and my life is so much better now. Because you have that hindsight perspective, but at the time I thought it was going pretty good. That's really good to hear. And January 18th of 2016 was the next time that I wrote. It was a Monday, and I said, so I don't know why I'm writing in this, but anyways, my teacher on Friday told me, well, she asked me, Natalie, why are you so weird? This was my math teacher. I have decided I don't like her. She's a terrible teacher. I will admit, she was not the best teacher. I don't remember much from algebra. She was very much into just letting us do things on our own, which I think is good, but it was more like get out your workbook, work on these problems, then turn in the homework or do the assignment and just turn it in at the front of the class. There was not much guidance. That was my memory of it. But obviously, she really offended me. And then I said, by this you can tell she didn't say that in a funny way. But I found it interesting because my mom says that I'm weird since I was younger and that I was a weird kid. So I guess in a way it's true I'm weird, but I don't know why, but I am. It's kind of interesting because why she had said that was because in school where I was going, the cool thing to do or the normal thing to do was you put your name and your heading in the right-hand corner and you just put it there and you do your name, I believe the date, the class period, and then what class it is. On the normal big header area, you put the title of that homework. That was a normal thing to do. But because I had jumped around from school to school when I was younger, I did not think that it mattered if there was a preference of where you put your name and everything. As long as your name's on the page and it's on the top, I thought that's all that really mattered. I think that I put it more like the title's right here, and I think I just put it off to the side, but not quite in that corner and not quite that exact design. I probably put my name, the class period, then the date, and I did it all in one line. And she did not like that, and she just called me out and was like, you're so weird. At that age, anything's gonna offend you, so that was really embarrassing in my mind and a really big deal. And I still remember it because you tend to remember the things that make you really embarrassed. You tend to keep those in your mind a little bit more than the good things. Maybe she said some really nice positive things about me, but I'm not gonna remember that as much as the things that really offended me. And it is true, my mom did say that I was very weird. I think it's really funny that I'm saying that like it doesn't matter. I said the thing is I know who I am, but I know that I'm a good person, so world judge me and my terrible spelling, and I don't care how I do my headers. I only believe in myself, and whoever I am, I hope I will do something great. And if it's just knowing who I truly am, that is great, because I believe only few know that about themselves. That's also really funny because I look back again in hindsight and I'm like, I don't think I knew who I was. I don't think I believed in myself that much, but at the time I thought I did. My memory is warped again. I was thriving. As much as those pictures make me cringe and as much as this journal makes me cringe, I was thriving according to it and according to how I was feeling at the time. I think I'll end right there. There is a couple more things, but I think the next journal entry is going to be quite a bit. So I'll stop right there.